I had a student in my class who's the National Merit Scholar who was admitted to Alma College on a full scholarship. So this student had all A's on his transcripts, never seen anything else throughout years of schooling. And one day he got up in front of the class and he wanted to present a problem. And he tried, and then he turned around, he faced the group, he said, "I'm sorry, I can't do this because I have not worked the problem ahead of time." After the class, he followed me into my office, and he was concerned because he realized that for the first time in his life, he actually had to work to get an A. I think this student is an example of a group of students who are exceptionally smart, who can get perfect academic records without ever having to work, or work very little. And they go through our regular school system, taking classes, going through lectures, taking exams, and get perfect A's. They were untouched, unchallenged, ever. I was very pleased that I was able to challenge even the brightest students. And I think this is a good example of how deep of the understanding students have to develop in the IBL course. I think failure is crucial. We talked in some of the talks we had today, we talked about the line between good frustration and bad frustration. You have to be frustrated. You have to be challenged to learn. Otherwise, anything worth learning is hard to you. If everything comes so easily to you, it's not worth your time. I think the professor really needs to understand the learning process and give students a chance to be on the driver's seat. We like to talk about things we're good at. We like to deliver. We like to present an elegant lecture. Everything fits so seamlessly, make perfect sense. But that's not how mathematics was discovered at the first place. There was struggle. There was, a lot of frustration. And we need to let students experience that, have that, instead of rob them of that process altogether and just say, this is the way things should be, and just obey this. Well, they have to actually inquire themselves. They have to look at the problem. They have to figure out a way to understand the problem first and then find a solution for the problem. So I'm not going to tell them how typically this type of problem is done, and then they only take that model and then try to use it on a similar problem. That's what they learn to do in the lecture setting, But now they actually have to figure out themselves how to do these type of problems. Typically, we would present it either as a fact, or we would present it, professors would present it and then provide a proof. So the students thought, it wasn't my job to prove a property or a theorem. It would be too hard. So I revealed to the students, I said, no, you have to prove everything in the exception of definitions and axioms. Those are your building blocks. And then you have to build. Some of the steps in building a building might be more difficult than others. Like when you go from the basement to the first floor, you might need to put in a little extra effort versus building from the bottom of the first floor to the top of the first floor. I said, you have to prove everything. So students started moaning. They're like, no, can't do this. And that was a Friday. At the end of the class, we had a little time because nobody was coming in. So I had a student, her name is Kelsey, and she was not a good student in many of my colleagues' eyes because she was never very successful in a lecture setting. And she was moaning like a lot. She would say, I can't believe we have to do this. I don't even know how to start it. And then she started talking with several other students who were still in the room. And the thing is, in the process of talking about this property, this proposition, she actually started to gradually generate a proof for it. And at the end of the conversation, it was completely correct. She looked at me, she was like, is this correct? Is this correct? I looked at the other students that were still around, I was like, what do you guys think? Is it correct? Everyone was like, we think so, there's nothing wrong with it. She was literally jumping up and down and she was glowing. She was like, yes! And then on Monday, so coming Monday, I walked into the classroom and there was Kelsey standing in front of the board. And I was like, okay. And then I saw a sentence on the blackboard in capital letters that read, Kelsey demands to prove Proposition 30 today with the wants crossed out. She just wanted to do it. I mean, that's the moment that I feel like as an IBL instructor that I live for. I feel like students really grow their self-confidence. And we see them, grow. And I think that's the pleasure of it.